up, everybody? This is Polio Jr. And today I wanted to show you guys a very simple and efficient way of using solar panels to charge, depending on what you have, everyday household items and so forth, that really in the end would save you a decent amount of money. So this is just an example, and this guy is actually meant for, this I got at Harbor Freight, and is a solar battery charger. So it's just a solar panel, and basically with this guy right here, this plug-in, you would plug that into the power outlet, which used to be called the cigarette lighter of the car, and it would actually charge the battery. But it also has a lot of other purposes, which I'm going to show you what I'm using right now. This is not a high wattage output battery charger, but it does. What's good is that with deep cell batteries, things like car batteries and just any kind of deep cell batteries, the slower the charge is actually better for it. So this is just a very simple guy, and it actually tells you when this little guy right here lights up. So I'll show you where I have it on the roof over here. It's probably slanted right now, but this is the really easy setup. So excuse the house as it's under construction, but there it is. As you can see, it slid down a little bit, but it's still getting the full capacity of the sun. So at full capacity, it's putting out 1.5 watts. So, and remember, watts is volts times amps, but and that's DC. So, and that DC is running into my house. So I'll show you right now. This is just some other Chinese thing I got, but that's another day. So we have that wire coming into the house, and this is where you can decide which cable you want. So I have the cable very similar to the jumper cables, and what it's doing is it charges this 12 volt 10 ampere battery, and at full capacity this battery can run at 20 hours. So all day this guy's being charged, which basically this gets fully charged throughout the entire day, as long as there's nothing plugged into it. And what you can do, what I have right now, is right now it's still charging, but I also have these prongs, which just this little adapter, which turns into that power adapter, and that 12 volt power adapter in the car. So we're still going from DC, charging a DC battery, and then we're using that cigarette adapter, the 12 volt power adapter, to, now this guy here is just a 70 watt AC power adapter, which you would plug into the car, and then plug in what you want. So you can power up to 70 watts continuous power with it. I believe you can get more than this, but it'll do 70 watt continuous power as long as the battery is holding the charge. So we have the panel up there coming here. These two guys are charging the battery. These two wires are for the power adapter, or for the power adapter, and then this is the DC to AC, to direct current to alternating current inverter. And it always tells you on the back, always somewhere on it, that this input is 12 volts and 10 amps. And that's exactly the battery that I got to put into this. So I didn't play with any power, didn't add any extra power. I put exactly what this asked for. You can go over it, but I would say if what it wants is what it says, and vice versa, then that's what you want to do. And now, so from there, I have a regular outlet. So this is now alternating current, and it's basically just as if it were plugged into the wall, because now the output is the 120 volts, just as a regular household line. And then this is just the power cord to this surge protector. And I've had this guy, and this is my little lady over here. Sun's out, bun's out. As long as the sun's out, she's dancing. And everything here I'm charging. I mean, I could plug everything into all these slots and still have enough charge to charge them as if I was just into a regular outlet. So, and that also I have my little my little USB readers, which are pretty accurate. And they'll tell you. You can see this guy. I know I have it very close. So this guy's basically drawing 5.14 volts and 0.29 amps. And remember, volts is basically the push of the electricity, and the amps is the amount of the electricity that's coming through. And as long as you have them in the appropriate slots and all that, you're not going to have any issues. Because when this is plugged in when these guys are plugged into into an outlet, it tells you that the input is this says 100 to 240 volts, and that the output will be 5 volts, 800 milliamps, which is almost 1 amp, so 0.8 amps, and that will typically be the highest output that it'll do. And but once you plug that in, this basically becomes an inverter as well. So, and then it's just charging my little on-the-go rechargeable battery, so I can plug everything else in. I have it charging my phone right now, and if you can see, it's kind of in the sun, but we're still getting 5.18 volts and 0.65 amps. And then I'm charging a little phone over here, which is, I'm going to turn upside down for a second, but that is 5.12 volts, 1.5, and 0.65 amps. So, and you'll always see the amps a little bit higher when the batteries are a little bit on the lower side. Once the batteries start getting a little bit more full, you'll see the amps start to drop. So, and this is really just a very simple connection of how to use this. So when you're using that solar panel up there, and you can actually get higher wattage output, solar panels, and that one's very light, but it does the trick as far as charging the deep cell batteries at a slower rate, which is actually better for the battery, so you're not continually killing the battery, but it does the trick. So there's my little setup, goes to there, and it's all completely safe. And like I said, so we're just transferring from DC and then converting it to AC so that we can power these devices. I could not plug any of these directly to here because I would blow these devices away with it. So as long as I have this inverter here, then I'm completely fine. So it's still, once going from the DC to the AC, it'll still have that 120 volt current going through it. It's completely safe with the inverter and all that good stuff, and then going through the surge protector right here. I can plug as many things as I want here, as long as I'm not exceeding that 70 watt continuous power. So with that, I was able to, with this 12 volt 10 ampere battery and that converter, I've been able to power up high wattage light bulbs and like a Keurig machine and so forth. With this battery and with this inverter, I'm not going to be able to power up, a fridge or anything like that. I would probably need something more of a car battery to do something like that, and then actually a higher wattage inverter, because I would blow the fuse would blow immediately if I tried to, or it just wouldn't do anything at all, pretty much. So if there was too much power going into here, then the fuse right here would blow, which is nice. I could just replace the fuse and not destroy the inverter itself. So, but yeah, this is what I do every night when I get home. So, because I'm pretty much using this rechargeable cell every day. When I'm on the go, I'm using my phone every day. I have my side phone, and then I even have my hotspot, which I had earlier, and that also will plug into here as well. And I always just, for fun, I just have these readings here that tell me exactly what it's drawing, and as long as they're all sitting around 5 volts, you know, then I'm pretty good. And as long as they're all coming through here, through these guys that are plugged into to these AC outlets, I know that I'm getting exactly what I need to charge the phone. And sometimes I actually get more amperage from having it plugged in, straight, from the battery into the inverter. I get more amperage and it actually will charge these devices a little bit faster than it would in into a regular wall socket, which is really cool. So, and this thing's been charging. It's always charging, throughout the day as long as the sun's out. So when that guy's off, this guy can run pretty much all night, no problem. Just charging regular household items and still be okay. The deep cells will hold a lot more power and be able to sustain that power for a longer period of time. So, which is really, really nice. So I had the 12 volt 10 ampere / 20 hour, and I believe that only cost me maybe 20, 25 bucks on eBay. And then just getting little things like this on eBay and everything else, all this stuff I know everybody has. These little meters here, these little USB meters are really cheap. They're probably a freaking dollar, $2 a piece. And they're just telling you, what each device is drawing as far as the power that it needs. So, and like I said, as it gets closer to the end, like I would see where right now it says 0.53 volt, 0.53 amps, that would probably drop down to 0.2, and then, the less power that it needs, that'll drop down as well. So, my idea for down the line would be I could still use that guy up there, the 1.5 watt, but I would probably get something like a 5 watt to charge to a car battery, which will hold a hell of a lot more power than this guy. So it's still 12 volts. The amperage is a lot higher, but the capacity. See, and the phone's ringing too. So, and I'll call you back, Dad. I would probably get something like a 5 watt solar panel and just do the same thing where these guys are connected, and then get a higher capacity inverter to the AC, and then in that way, in emergencies, I could still plug in the refrigerator, I could plug in the stove and do all that good stuff. So just wanted to show you guys just a quick tutorial, just not really a tutorial, but just a really easy setup on how to save a little bit of electricity and really not cost that much. Harbor Freight's always cheap as hell. eBay is great, and you get money back when you buy this stuff. You can find all this stuff on eBay. The battery, the inverter, even the panel, all that good stuff. I know everybody has surge protectors and these adapters laying around. If you really want to check out the voltage, and this is just a USB voltage one, so this isn't the actual I have a multimeter and I have one that I can plug into to see exactly what's coming out, but that is for another day. But just to show you that these are just everyday household items that are being charged, and they all can be charged at one time with this 12 volt 10 ampere battery converting to a 70 watt inverter. But it all works really well. I could have, guys like these almost, I could fill up this whole thing and charge everything I need. But typically I have 1, 2, 3, and my hotspot all charging at the same time. They all hold the same, all the voltage stays the same, and the current goes is the same all the way through. So just because the DC battery says 12 volts, we've converted it to AC, so which means I should have 120 volts of capacity here. The amperage can change if this starts to deplete. If the battery starts to deplete, the amperage can lower, but the volts should stay pretty much at a consistent 5 and up. So typically it stays around 5 to 5.5 volts as far as charging household items and so forth. But right now I could put anything up to, for 70-watt continuous power I could put in. So a high wattage light bulb, a coffee maker and things like that, just with that small battery and using that inverter, and I could do that no problem. So these are really good alternatives if the lights go out, if the power goes out and you need something, to charge your phone with and all that good stuff. So if this, you have a heavy storm, all right, cool, this guy's been charging. Let's get all our stuff charged. You don't have to hop in the car or anything like that, and and you're pretty much good to go. So you need to charge a as long as the laptop is, my laptop is definitely, I think, is 18 watts, and it would charge perfectly fine off of this. So as long as I'm going through here and I plug it into here, it's only going to, the say for instance laptop charger is only going to draw what it needs. So you're not going to be blowing the hell out of it, and that's why it's good to have the inverter. So when you plug it in, and then it says, okay, even though there's 120 volts coming in at 10 amps, this is all we really need, and the inverter will do the rest. So that's really all I got today. There's tons of cool things that you can do. This is another fun one I have. They have these cheap guys on eBay too, and this is really just a straight solar panel to USB. So if that sun's out, that'll put out 5 volts and enough to charge your phone without going into a battery or anything like that. And I could do the same with the solar panel, but I figure, why not get everything done at one time, have it charge, and then just go right in here, and then when I'm done charging, it's just hit the switch and I'm done, and that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and this is just my starting the setup that I was kind of playing with, from going from 6-volt batteries, 6-volt deep cell batteries, not just, and then moving on up. So my next step up will probably be using a car battery and seeing what I can power up with a car battery and a higher AC inverter, from the DC to the AC. So, and that's really all I got. I just thought this was really cool, and it's really nice to, it's not a hell of a lot of power as far as money-wise and so forth, but, every little bit helps, and I'll definitely save more over time by spending $20 and then $10 for that guy. And these guys are nothing on eBay. They don't cost anything. So, we'll say $40 altogether I spent. As far as this and this, the Harbor Freight guy was on sale, I think, for like $10, and I've had that for a while. So, and this was the last thing I wanted to show you. This is actually really cool. This is for AVs, but you can do the same thing. And this is just straight to USB. So we're just talking small guys. When you're using USB, obviously we're not using anything too powerful. But with these two guys, it would be the same thing. I've actually plugged this into, I'll show you, by Bluetooth. That's a 12 volt. This is a 6-volt guy. And so I've actually had that same solar panel charge this guy. I would have, the positive on the positive, and then the negative on the negative, and it would come out to a USB. So, and I would have a meter and see how much was coming out, and just making sure it wasn't too much that was coming out of there. So even though this battery right here is a 6-volt 4.5 amp, it has, when it's fully charged, it has the capacity to put out, for whatever reason, 7 volts and so forth. So I just have to be, and then the amperage sometimes can be a little bit lower on these guys. So this was fun to play with and to start with, but this is my guy right now. And then my next guy will definitely be, definitely having a car battery in here, and probably in some sort of enclosed plastic box, and make this all a little bit easily accessible, and maybe a little bit cleaner, a little bit more organized. But this is as organized as I've gotten. so far. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Just some tips on saving money and charging, everyday items without using any of your electricity. So, and that's all I got. Thanks for watching. See ya.